Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Fina, and today, as you can see, I wanted to do a slightly different kind of video again. Today, I thought we could do a little bit of drawing. So, this actually is a commission that I got on my Etsy shop. It is the smallest one that I sell, which is an A5 biro portrait. I'll put the link to my shop in the description if you're interested to have a look. But today, I thought you could join me in drawing this one. So, as you can see, I already did sort of the basic sketch. So that's just this lovely couple. And that's just because this part takes so long getting the proportions right. It involves just a lot of going like with a reference photo. I wouldn't be in frame for most of it. So I thought I would do the bare bones first. I'm going to sketch a bit more and then do the ink, I think, because this is still very basic. It's missing most of the details. So I've got my trusty mechanical pencil. I am a mechanical pencil stand. These things are the best. I will argue that to my death. And yeah, I think I'll start with Miss Ma'am over here. So she's got a cardigan on. You can't really see that yet because I've not done the pattern. But this part and this part here are her cardigan. So let's just sketch in some of that fabric. Yeah, so I didn't want to do the part before this on camera because it would be mostly me looking at the screen, not a lot of me actually being on the page. Not a lot of sound for you either. So let's get some t-shirt creases in too. Now, I guess I don't need to go that heavy on the shading because I want to do most of it with the biro afterwards. So I will just be going over it. But I'm just gonna put the basic parts. That's more of here actually. So this is just the collar of her t-shirt. And she's actually wearing a necklace, so let's put that in. I think it's just something like rings. Now, I think this is the strap of her bag, this part here. And it's black, but let's just shade it gently for now. This part's shiny, so you can see the sort of fake crocodile skin pattern there. Then here is a lot of shadow too. This is the inside of her cardigan there. I will leave that as is for now, I think. Let's move on to her face. So, I did the basics, as you can see, very simply. Just because it's so difficult. If you get proportion wrong, then the whole thing is off. And as you can see, she's smiling with her teeth, which is my absolute nightmare. It is the hardest thing to do for me. I really struggle with teeth. Only because if you get teeth wrong, like even a tiny bit, it is so explicitly clear that it's not right. So I spent a long time on these teeth and they're still very basic. But let's give her some more facial details first. So So obviously there's a lot of shadow on her face. This is her hair here. It comes down here as well. Okay, so she has that little dimple right there. She's got a little crease under this eye as well. And in the corner, some smile lines. And that whole eye obviously is in shadow. It looks a bit harsh, but it will get better, I promise. The whole forehead actually is as well. Actually, I'll leave that to do with the pen. Let's give her some hair. She's got some hairs coming sort of onto her face. Not lots. So, anyway, mouth. She has those lovely sort of curly mouth corners there. Now, obviously, the reason it's important to do this in pencil first is because once I get to the pen, if I make a mistake, there's no going back. And it's quite likely I will, but at least my chances are lessened a little bit with a sketch first. Yeah, okay, so yeah, once again, I'm not going to go too detailed on the face, just some basic sort of shapes and shadows, because most of it will come with a pen. Right, let's move on to our gentleman here. Now, he's got spiky hair. I wonder how I can make that happen. I don't want to look bald, but also I don't want to do too many details just now, since I'll do them with pen in a bit anyway. Okay. He has a sort of like a shadow on his brow as well, because he's pulling a sort of face. There we go. So there's a shadow there, and then here as well. And then obviously his hair. I will shape that properly in when I do the pen, I think. I don't want to get too many unnecessary marks. Let's just shade his ear a bit more. So that's sort of hollow there. You can sort of see the line there. He's got a few freckles. I wonder if I should do those. I don't want to do them too dark with the pen, so he's got one here. And he's got a little tiny bit of hair under his lip. Oh, and obviously he's pulling a bit of a face here. That's what this line is. He's pressing his lips together. So he's got these lines here. And then sort of a shadow there. And then one here in his jaw. Oh, speaking of jaw, I'd like to do this part. So his nose. There's a little shadow there. And he's got a shadow under his eye as well. Like that. And then a bit further down. This whole bit is shadowy, obviously, because that's where she is. But I won't do too much of that now. Looks a bit jagged, I know, but don't worry, this will sort itself out. There's a bit of a shadow here as well. And as for his t-shirt, I really just did the outline before. So it's got some creases, some wrinkles in the fabric. They actually come like this. And his t-shirt has a bit of a collar, like that. It's mainly a shadow here though, and the sleeve is here as well. So the actual line goes like that, but then there's a wrinkle there. And then there's a shadow because the sun reaches his shoulder again here. So that's all darker beyond that shadow. Okay, there's our couple. They look a bit bare for the moment, but don't you worry, we'll work on that. I don't know if I'm going to do the background or not. They're in a park, so there's a tree in the background, the sky and some grass. But I think I might just leave it, the two of them. So, I'm going to start with this guy. My little biro. And I'm always nervous starting this part because it is so unforgiving, but I'm going to start again from left to right so that I don't, smudge the fresh ink. So let's start with our cardigan. I'm just going to do very softly. Oh, there you go. Let's test out our pen first. Okay, so good. So, very softly, just going to go over that line, and also this one. And I really do want it to be gentle. And now that I'm doing it with the pen, I think I'm going to put in some of the texture because this is like a woolly cardigan. So there was this line here, which is where the chunky knit starts. So these lines are the patterns that I'm following, and it sort of goes this way in this section. So I'm just going to give it little triangles like that. And they start to go up here. And then in the section down here, they're going straight up, really. Okay, so where it fades off into the sunlight, I'm just sort of letting the dots fade out. Okay, there's a little bit of texture here as well, where it's much thinner, so I'm just going to do little thin lines going up. So this area is generally shadowed. So I know it looks harsh, but once the rest of it is also shaded, it will blend in a little more smoothly, don't worry. So let's get onto the t-shirt. Sorry about the plane going over me. So that curves around there. And obviously here's our bag strap. Which is very dark. There's some shapes down here where you can see some light still, but overall very dark. Don't worry about me drawing on my desk there, pretend you didn't see it. And then that comes out the other end here. But on this side it is reflecting the light, so it's a lot lighter, and you can see this sort of pattern there, like that. So anyway, back to the t-shirt, got distracted. There's quite a dark line there. All of this is going to be shaded in the end over the top because it's not, you know, in the sun like that. So don't worry about the unevenness for now. So where else here? Here. Necklace. And neck. So there's a few lines here. So there's also a pattern here, but it's much smaller. But then there are a few bigger dots that go up along here. I'm just going to do little tiny dots for this. And then a shade. And that's the same thing I'm going to do all over here. Just that array. Light. So there was this bit as well. So let's get onto her face. Right. So I'm going to start with her eyes, I think. She's got a little shine at the bottom, so I'm going to leave that there. She does have those little lines there. Of course, her eyebrows. She's got those little smile lines. And her eyelid. And that nice little line underneath. And her brow here as well. Now this is the one that fades off into the sunlight. So I'm going to do just a tiny few, but fairly visible lines. Then let's do, so this is softer, this part. Let's do a nose. Okay, so this is the shadow under the tip of her nose and around it, and then up here. So she's got that bit of ear, and then hair. And the hair comes down here as well. She had an earring, where was that? It's here. Why does it now not do it? Come on then. Yep, that's all I want. There we go. Ooh. So, you. It's a bit dark. So obviously this whole thing's really dark because it is sunglasses. But just need to make sure I emphasize the bits that are darkest. Oh, this pen's not working with me today. Okay, now let's face my fears. Do the mouth. Why? Okay, let's try my backup pen. Now, this feels like it's going to be more difficult. Let's give it a go. Oh, that's actually immediately much better. I should have done this a while ago. Right, her neck's a bit too light compared to her body, her face even. So I'm just darkening the parts that kind of get lost in the shading. Just obviously so they don't blend in too much. Okay. Right, I'm gonna move on to him now. So now his eyes have some shine in them as well, so I'm just not going to fill those in completely. Okay, I am going to do this little freckle there, and then his eyebrows. Oh, that came out really dark. It's okay, at least it was in the right place. Now his mouth. So, these shadows here. So, just going to do the more gentle shadows on his face now. So around the eyes. There's his line bags. The other one actually has the two, so let's do a little bit there. Then just around the edge of his face. And of course around his mouth. There's one under his nose here. And over here. It's got one on his chin as well. And around here. So, right, let's not put off the hair anymore. I think I'm just going to have to do lots of tiny lines for this because it's spiky hair. Let's do his hairline. Make sure we get that all in the right place. Trying to make sure I'm getting the hairs going in the right direction, so they're going down at this point. And they start to go more outwards here. And then they start to go out here. They're in the sun at this bit, so it's a bit lighter than everywhere else. See how I can make that show. So then it's dark up again here. I think they must be pointing kind of forward here. It's kind of hard to see. Again, I'm trying to be a bit careful with the hair that's like shining in the sun. That's this bit here. But it's all dark here, so that's easier for me. There's actually some of her hair like on his head. Should I do that? Yeah. So it's kind of like going like that. Obviously with his hair underneath. And then he's got some shadows on his head as well. His neck here is darker than the jaw. Let's do this little shadow where his t-shirt is baggy. Now his t-shirts are dark because hers is actually white. Not that shows up very well, but his is blue, so let's try and make his look a little bit darker than hers. So let's first put in those creases. And then the shadows. So he's got another little gap between the collar and the neck there. And he actually has some lines on his neck. Let's put those there. And then this part of the t-shirt sort of shadowed up until here. There's like, it's not a crease. You can just sort of see where the light hits it and sort of stops. And then the same goes here. There's sunlight in this part here. So this whole part here is going to be darker. And there's that crease here. And the seam. So behind those, there's the shading. And we're going to color the whole thing in as well. Let's do this side first. Okay. So that's the bit that's sunny, but I still want to color it in because it's darker than like the wine. So I'm going to go over the whole thing again. I'm going to do his neck as well, actually. Actually, maybe I'll do the neck separately. I got nervous. Oops. Okay. So, what needs defining? This does. So his neck now, there's that one shadow here, and then along the edge, then obviously I'm going to colour the whole thing in a bit. And now his face. I'm going to colour the whole thing in as well, except there's a highlight here where the sun is. I'm going to leave it alone, and the bit in the middle of the nose. So a bit of a shadow on this side of his nose. Right, so now let's just darken the parts that kind of got lost. His head kind of comes out a bit more like that. I feel like his hairline blends in a bit more here. So, let's see. Her mouth seems to be disappearing a little bit, so I'm just going to try and give that some more. Okay. Let's darken her back strip a bit. Okay. I'd like to do his t-shirt a bit more. It's kind of flat. Lost some of those lines. I didn't actually draw that line, did I? Alright, I think I just want to do a little bit more around here and then I'll call it done. So yeah, it looks a bit plain down here. So I just want to emphasize some of the sort of jaw shadows and chin shadows. Sort of under here, he has a shadow there. And then obviously quite a lot around here. Doesn't want to go again now. Why does it write so well here? And then just completely conks out on the paper. Right. So what do you reckon? Does that look like a person to you? I think I might just make the lips a bit clearer now that I've made that face darker there. What do you think? Are these people? I think they're people, right? Just like to make some of the partitions a bit clearer. So, I think with that, I'm going to call this done. So, I'll be sending this off to my lovely customer, and I hope they like it, and I hope you liked watching me draw it. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I'll see you again soon. Bye!